If there was one thing I could go back and tell the kid, it would be to stop masturbating. Here's why. Masturbation isn't just a one-off act. It's not just a random thing you do alone in your room and then it has no consequences or no relationship to the rest of your life. It has a relationship to the rest of your life. I'd imagine if you clicked on this video and if you saw the title about masturbation ruining my life or your life, you clicked on it because you're in a space of wondering whether or not this practice has any value to you. And I personally understand that questioning because it took me a long time to get on the other side of questioning my relationship to sex. Most people are going to tell you that it's not a big deal, that you can engage in sex, that you can engage in ejaculation, orgasm, coitus, whatever you want to call it, copulation. You can engage in these things and you're going to be all right. And let's leave space, right? Because I'm not a teacher, I'm not a doctor. Let's leave space for the, in my opinion, minute character who may have absolutely no consequences after ejaculation or orgasm. Because I'm not just talking to guys, I'm hopefully talking to young women as well. But let's leave that tiny bit of space for them. In my opinion, the extreme, overwhelming majority of people are taxed when they orgasm, when they ejaculate. And that manifests into the rest of their lives. Having access to porn at such a young age hijacks my capacity to think clearly. Porn hijacks your capacity to think clearly in the same way that ultra-processed food hijacks your capacity and ability to think clearly. These things, porn, which I also call pseudo-option, ridiculously nonsensical, P-O-R-N, porn, fast food, junk food, all the ultra-processed foods, they've been chemically engineered, scientifically thought out in order to hook you, to grab you, to keep you dependent, to keep you craving. That's the actual goal of the people who put these things on the shelves, people who produce these content. I'm not telling this to anyone to scare them or freak them out or make them think that the world is bleak. I'm saying it because it's honest. And I wish me as a kid had someone telling them that this isn't the way to go. I really don't want to speak too much about myself personally, because I don't want to bore you. You didn't click on this to learn about me. You clicked on this to learn about you. This channel is a mirror. But sometimes I do have to reference myself so that you can see that your experience, though extremely unique, like a snowflake, no snowflake is identical to another snowflake. All humans are unique in that same way, but there are certain general experiences that we can empathize with. We can understand to a degree. I masturbated every day as a kid. Possibly a little later than most young men, but since maybe 6th or 7th grade, it became an everyday thing until young adulthood. Masturbation was a routine. You get up, if you got nothing to do, you masturbate. And in the evening, you masturbate before you go to sleep. What one doesn't realize, especially the child, is that there's no one here telling you your relationship to your body. The only one telling you your relationship to your body is the culture. And that's not necessarily wrong, but if you look at the culture, a lot of people are miserable. And I think a unanimous act or behavior across people is sex. How they engage with it varies, but the release, the seeking of that release. I didn't know that the release of semen would alter my physiology and mentality in such a way that I would develop very quickly suicidal ideations, anxiety, social anxiety, extreme social anxiety, and major depression. I didn't know any of that. And there's no one to tell me. And when I think about that, I think, how many children are raised on ignorance and pain and hurt? To truly think and sit and ponder that is to possibly come over with a real sense of grief. To see how so many of us are hurting because we've never had someone to say, that's not the way. When I was 22, I tried to kill myself. And life is not unilateral, it's not one thing, so there's a number of factors going into everything that I'm saying, but one of the fundamental, if not the fundamental thing, was my disrespect and ignorance about sexual energy. And that compounded to the point where by the time I was 22, I could not handle this world anymore. I couldn't face it. I couldn't do it. I tried to end it. But if that kid only knew that the man sitting here today is in a completely different dimension, a completely different world than the one that kid was in, he wouldn't believe it. And I would take him and I would say, man, masturbation is ruining you, man. It really is. And here's why. Because your body needs that semen. It needs it. It actually, and I'm not a scientist, and I really encourage you to do your own research, but semen has so many proponents and compounds and nutrients. And when it's not released outwardly, the body uses it to create the human being, the masculinity in the body, the testosterone, the muscle, the blood, the bones, the brain, the capacity to think clearly, the capacity to speak up, the voice, the depth of voice, the deepness. Semen is not just a thing you shoot out of you onto a sheet. And I'm not sitting here badgering anyone. But it's not that. If you clicked on this video, you're wondering, and I'm trying to tell you, in my personal strong opinion, it's not that. It's something to be cultivated in the body. And I would like you to strongly ask yourself, if at this point you wonder, well, does that mean I can't have sex? Why are you asking yourself that question? If in fact, the releasing of this energy is tormenting your life to the degree that it seems to be, why are you tethered to that pain? Why are you tethered to that? Why are you trying to hold on to it? You'd be able to tell me better than I can tell you. Maybe there's fear of missing out. Maybe you think life is all about the acquisition of pleasures. Maybe you think this is the only good thing in the world and everything else is bleak. The question is, have you ever lived any other kind of life? For most, the answer is no, a resounding no. And I'm here to tell you that there is another way. I'm not saying I have a how-to, because again, everyone's unique and everyone's life is absolutely, in my opinion, ineffable. But there's another way, and that way is uncommon. But if you're as devastated about living as I was, what do you have to lose? To question this act and be done with it forever. And I should say too, I'm not saying any of this from a religious perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from a do this to attract women or to attract men. That's not me. There's so many channels out there that do that, and my perspective is completely different. It is my opinion that this is just nature. It's just nature. It's literally as simple as that. The body doesn't actually want prolonged sensations. If you hold your hand over a fire for too long, the body will react. If you sit in cold water, the body will want to run out. And I'm not saying there's not a place for extended heat and extended cold, saunas, cold baths, etc. But the body doesn't really want to live life in such an exhausted state. And the nervous system wants to be balanced, wants to be calm. And when you ejaculate, when you orgasm, you're taxing the nervous system daily. That's gonna have an effect on the mind and the perception of the world. When the nervous system feels it's under attack all the time, even though you and yourself have been conditioned to see it as a pleasurable thing, the ejaculation, the orgasm, the body only feels truth. And the truth is, there's taxation. And it may not look like complete and utter devastation to every single person, but the fog, the tiredness, the sluggishness, that's a subtle or extreme pointing to the fact that your body doesn't want to live this way. What happened to the vibrant joy of the child? Why does the adult seem to inherently slow down and get worse? Why is that the way we live, and why are we so accepting of that? I'm here to say it doesn't have to be that way. But one has to question release. You have to question it genuinely and experiment for yourself, because no one's going to tell you. If you don't see it for yourself, frustrations will ruin you. Prevail in stillness, relieve frustration. Indulge frustration, permit ruin. Think about it.